Welcome back to WagerTalk.com. I'm Marco D'Angelo, joined in studio by my partner in crime, Bryan Leonard. Bryan, we got Georgia Tech and Clemson playing this week in the ACC, and I got to ask you, is this a flat spot for Clemson off of that big game against Notre Dame?
You know, it's definitely a flat spot. It's interesting. I never have time to leave Las Vegas during football season. I had an invite to go to that game, Notre Dame and Clemson last week. I had a 67% week. But not going to that game was the best decision I made last week. I would have hated to have to sit out there with the fans all day long in the rain, flooding, and if Notre Dame makes that two-pointer at the end of the game, boy, I'd had to stay there even longer.
Yeah, but at least, you go to a college football game, you would have been partaking in quite a few alcoholic beverages. So.
Yeah, yes, I would have been. It's just the same as when I'm at home.
This is true. But for me, Bryan, this is one of my favorite, and this is going to be my video best bet. This is one of my situations where you have a team like Clemson. They were undefeated going into that game, but they weren't getting any respect because people talked about, well, they haven't played anybody yet. And I like to refer to the game last week against Notre Dame is that was their statement game or their legitimizer. You win a game like that, then all of a sudden you jump up in the polls, everybody starts talking about you, and that's when I want to look to go against you. One, because you can't help it. These are 20 to 22-year-old kids. They can't help after a game that big not to be on the same intensity level and focus, for this week's game as they were for last week's game. And then because they are legitimized and they go up in the rankings and everybody saw them and say, okay, this team's better than we thought. Now you're laying extra, points with them, and it's tough, as you know how it is in college football. We say it in the NFL any given Sunday. Well, it's the same way in college football, and these teams know each other well when you get into conference play. That's why I love these type of situations.
I could fully understand that. The thing is with me is you go back and you look, these teams have been, against FBS competition, they've been favored in every game. And yet on the season, if you take a look at explosive plays, they give up more explosive plays than they accumulate themselves. I think both these teams are a little bit fragile here. You look at that game, and obviously Clemson had that lead and they won that game. But if that game was played on a field that was dry, look at how many drop passes the Irish had in that game. I mean, obviously total yards was a little bit different because they had that late comeback. But I think if that game was played over again on a dry field, I'm not sure Clemson would have won it.
No, I mean, and that's the beauty of, finding these situations in college football where you get that one game, you're at home, get the crowd, that intensity. Yeah, if they play them out, guys that use simulators to get final scores, they'll play something out 50 times and it's going to come out. Well, yeah, that's true, but we're dealing with a case study of one, and the situation is, Notre Dame was coming in with all those injuries that have been racking up since week one. Coach has done a great job, but eventually, your luck's going to run out, and you had Clemson that had extra time to prepare and everything else. Now, let's talk about preparation. You go from playing Notre Dame, that big game, and now you got to face Georgia Tech. Now, we can question the Georgia Tech psyche right now, too, because they've lost 3 games in a row. Their season started to unravel, ironically, when they went to Notre Dame and lost, and that was the first game after Notre Dame lost their quarterback, so it was a big situation for Notre Dame. But last week, and I'll admit I was on them, we're not going to cry sour grapes or anything because North Carolina came back and, ran over them, or threw the football is where they made it. Georgia Tech had a 21-point lead at home. Looked like they were going to just blow North Carolina right out. Then a costly turnover, changes momentum and things spiral out of control. So why do I want Georgia Tech this week? A team like that. I think now that they've lost 3 in a row, all the pressure's off. They can go in there and play loose. And a team that runs the football the way they do with the triple option, it's hard to prepare for. And if you're not totally focused this week in practice and you don't have that great week and you're too busy reading your press clippings from the previous week, this is a dangerous spot, I feel, for Clemson.
And it's definitely a game that Georgia Tech has to have. I mean, they started the season beating up on they were a bully.
The cupcakes, they have the little sisters on the floor.
And when they stepped up in class, they haven't played well. This is the do or die. This is the one game that they have to come out. If they don't come out here, I made the comment at the Tuesday meeting, if Georgia Tech does not come out and play a good game here, we could probably write them off the rest of the season.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and take Georgia Tech plus the points on Saturday, this is a game, they've got nothing to lose, guys, and a lot of times whenever you've got nothing to lose, you can roll the dice a little bit. Some 4th and 2s where you might have punted before. Hey, let's go ahead. We got a running game. Let's go for it. What do we got to lose? I'll take Georgia Tech plus the points as my best bet. And guys, check out Saturday. I've got a 5% college game of the month going. You can find it over at WagerTalk. You can get it by itself with the 150% guarantee, or get it as part of the weekend all access, Thursday through Monday, just $69. Head on over to WagerTalk.com. We hit our NFL game of the month last Sunday. We're going to look to do it with our college play this week. Be sure to check out all of our other videos at WagerTalk.com for this weekend.